How cold is too cold to walk your Labrador in the winter? Let's talk about it.
Okay, now that we're inside, let's get into it. I get this question all the time, especially from new dog owners, and it's a great one. While exercise is really important, when it's super, super cold out, it might do more harm to your dog to go out for a walk than it would do good. And I have a ton of other videos on canine enrichment if you're interested in ways to entertain and exercise your dog indoors. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Tori Mystic, the founder of Wear, Wag, Repeat, where I've been blogging about my life with dogs for over 12 years. I'm also a certified canine enrichment specialist, and I'm certified in pet first aid. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about how cold is really too cold to walk your dog. I'm sharing what I've learned in 20 plus years of living with Labradors in all kinds of weather, plus expert advice to help you make the best decision for your pup. So here's a quick guide to help you determine when is too cold to walk your dog. I got this information from a really wonderful veterinarian, Dr. Karen Becker. So these are some general guidelines for most dogs. I'll get into it next after this about signs for your own particular dog. Usually when I share this, people are like, my dog loves to sit outside when it's negative 20 degrees. But guys, these are general guidelines, okay? Below 45 degrees Fahrenheit, some dogs might start to feel a little bit chilly. I know that doesn't sound that cold, but again, these are general guidelines, okay? Below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you want to limit outside time for small breeds, puppies, seniors, or thin-coated dogs. I'm thinking of my friends who have Italian Greyhounds. Below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, I think those Italian Greyhounds would be pretty chilly. Below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermia and frostbite start to become a risk, believe it or not. So you want to watch your pup closely. When it's below 10 degrees Fahrenheit, you really want to limit your walks to 15 minutes max, and that even applies to healthy adult Labradors. And then finally, if it's below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, you really just want to go outside for some quick potty breaks in the yard and then get back inside. Again, these are general guidelines. So next we're going to talk about some different signs that you might want to look for with your dog to know if they are uniquely cold, because every dog is unique. And I know that if your lab is anything like my labs, they love the snow and they love the cold. Lucy still loves to go out in freezing cold temperatures and stand in the creek where it's like frozen over and she finds a little spot where she can get in and she'll lay down in it. She loves doing that. And don't get me started on Bert and his snow. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. He really loves snow a little bit too much. Instead of watching the thermometer, which can just kind of tell us some general information, I would recommend to figure out how cold is really too cold for your dog to instead look for these signs and behaviors. So these are some warning signs that your dog is too cold. And that's why it's really important to get to know your dog, to pay attention to their body language, to their habits, to their likes and dislikes, because every dog, just like every person, is unique. So these are the signs to look out for. Shivering or teeth chattering, lifting paws off the ground, that could indicate that their feet are genuinely really cold, or maybe they stepped in some salt that is burning their feet. A hunched posture or a tucked tail, those are some very common signs of distress. Whining, barking, or looking anxious. And then finally, if your dog is trying to turn around and go home, you should just let them do that. So if your dog is physically trying to go back in the house, as long as they've gone potty or they've done what they need to do, you should definitely let them go back in the house if they want to. Basically, what it comes down to is if your dog looks uncomfortable, they probably are uncomfortable. You might have heard of this saying that I hear people say all the time, that if you're cold, they're cold. I don't necessarily know if that is a really good measure of if your dog is really cold, because some people are just cold like sitting in their house like this. So the better way to measure it is if your dog looks uncomfortable or they're exhibiting any of those kind of signs of stress or distress, you should cut the walk short and head back inside. Now, since I have been a Labrador mom for over 20 years, let's talk a little bit more about my favorite breed. Labradors were bred for icy cold waters in Newfoundland. And I know that my dogs still love to romp around in icy cold waters here in Pittsburgh. But I also know that they're not invincible. And my dogs in particular, Bert and Lucy, now they are 13 years old. And so as your dog gets older, especially 13 is very old for a Labrador, and while they might still look like big, sturdy lugheads, they are getting a little bit more frail in their old age. And it's really my responsibility as their dog mom to keep them happy and healthy and safe. So I need to know that they can't spend as much time out in the cold as they used to when they were younger. So for my particular Labradors, these are the guidelines that we follow. When it's below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, we tend to keep our walks pretty short. I also dry them off immediately when we come inside from any rain or snow. I also wipe their paws in case they got any salt on their paws. But it's really important to keep your dog dry in the winter. You don't want to give them a bath and then go for a walk outside because it really could get dangerously cold for them. Speaking of salt, you want to protect your dog's paws from salt and ice. I've been using Musher's Secret for a long time. It is different than a paw balm. It's more of a wax. And so if you coat your dog's feet with it and even the top sides of their feet, it will prevent ice and snow from sticking and forming those snowballs that sometimes get stuck between their paws. I also really pay attention to the wind chills. And this winter in Pittsburgh, we have had some freezing cold temperatures. There was a day when the actual temperature was negative 19 degrees. And so the wind chill was even colder than that. And so on those days, we really especially only did very quick potty breaks outside. And then most importantly, for my particular labs, I limit snow eating. I know a lot of people think it's really cute, and maybe you have a normal dog who can just eat a little bit of snow, or you can toss them a snowball and they catch it and they move on with their day. But my dog Bert, who is sleeping right behind me right now, he is not normal and he eats snow in excess. So he will go out there and before I've even known what's happened, he has eaten so much snow so quickly that he makes himself sick. And in fact, he's given himself hypothermia more than once from eating too much snow. And believe me, I am not a neglectful dog owner. I am one of the best dog moms you'll ever meet. And I watch my dogs very closely. And he sneaks around and does this. If you're not paying attention, he will eat so much snow. So I really try to limit his snow eating, and I would recommend that you do the same for your dog. Don't encourage them to eat snow. Not only can they develop hypothermia, and it can just lower their core body temperature and make them very cold, but also if people are sprinkling salt or anything else on the snow, there could be chemicals in it that they could ingest. So snow eating, although it seems kind of cute, it is really not a very good idea for your dog. So what are some other ways that we can protect our dogs during extremely cold weather? I mentioned using a paw wax like Musher's Secret, but you can also try booties with your dog. For booties, you really do have to build in a lot of training time. Usually you cannot just put them on your dog and expect to go for a walk that day. But if you don't want to put that much time and effort into training your dog to get comfortable with their gear, you could look into some dog jackets. Dog jackets are not just cute, but they're also really practical. So for Bert, when he is outside eating all of the snow, I actually layer him up with a sweater and a jacket just to keep his core body temp warm because I know he is going to find a way to eat some snow. It also helps to keep your dog's fur dry. And as I told you earlier, keeping your dog dry is a really important part of winter safety. So some of my favorite places to get dog coats, especially for large breed dogs like Labradors, are Upcountry. They make really cute jackets and coats. They've got puffers. They've got kind of wool style jackets. I also really love Chili Dog sweaters. These are handmade wool sweaters. So they're really nice and warm, and I love that they're all natural fibers. We also love Voyager's Canine Apparel. They make all of their jackets to fit specific breeds. So they have a ton of different sizes and also like dimensions. So one might have a deeper chest, one might be longer, and you can search by breed. And they can also make you a totally custom one if you feel like your dog has a very unique build. I'll link up to all of my favorites in the description below, and I also have a blog post that goes along with this video where you can find more photos and more links and more references. Now you should know exactly how cold is too cold to walk the dog and what signs to look for to know that your unique dog is cold. Tell me, does your dog like the cold or would they rather snuggle up inside? Drop a comment below and share your stories with me. I really love reading them. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more tips on dog health, canine enrichment, and lifestyle. Stay warm, stay safe, and give your pup an extra little snuggle from me, Bert, and Lucy.